People are confidently, aggressively wrong about Huskies. Not a little wrong, like embarrassingly wrong. These myths have been spreading long enough that they are just accepted as facts now, even by people who've never spent a single day with the breed. So today, we're killing 9 lives people still believe about Huskies. Oh, and stick around until the end because the last one is something most owners are still getting wrong, and their dog is paying for it. Number 1. Huskies are basically wolves. The icy eyes, the dramatic howl, the mask. People see a husky for the first time and something ancient in their brain goes, wolf. And look, the confusion is understandable. Visually, the resemblance is real. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Looks are basically where the wolf comparison dies. Siberian Huskies were bred by the Chukchi people of northeastern Siberia, not to hunt, not to guard, but to run long distances alongside humans and other dogs as a team. That's their DNA. Cooperation, not predation. The actual breed standard describes them as friendly, gentle, outgoing, and not overly suspicious of strangers, which, if you know any Huskies, tracks perfectly. In fact, over on r/Siberian Husky, owners joke constantly that strangers stop them asking if their dog is a wolf. These are the same dogs that will sprint toward an unfamiliar child at full speed just to lick their face. They look like wolves, but they act like a golden retriever who thinks he's in a metal band. Number 2. Huskies are great guard dogs. Picture this. It's 2 a.m., someone's breaking into your house, and your husky hears it. He lifts his head, clocks that something is happening, and then trots over to the intruder, tail wagging, ready to make a new friend. This isn't a husky failing. This is a husky succeeding at being a husky. According to the Siberian Husky Club of America, huskies don't have the temperament of a watchdog, let alone a guard dog. The Kennel Club backs this up too, noting the breed shows no guarding traits and isn't suspicious of strangers at all. That's 2 major breed authorities saying the same thing, unprompted. Husky owners on Reddit have basically turned this into a running bit. Their dog would watch someone walk in and take everything. They'd lick the burglar. One owner even joked their husky would probably help carry boxes to the getaway car. Could a husky alert you that something's going on? Maybe, but between the alert and actually doing something about it, there's a very large gap filled entirely with tail wags. Number 3. If you train them well enough, huskies can be trusted off-leash. Training fixes most dog behavior problems. Sit, stay, come, heel, repetition, reinforcement, patience. People hear this and assume recall is just another item on that list. Work at it long enough and your husky will come back when called. Reasonable logic, but the wrong breed. Huskies weren't bred to watch your face for instructions, not even close. They were bred to make independent decisions across hundreds of miles of frozen terrain. When to push, when to rest, when to course correct, without waiting for human input. That independence wasn't a bug in the design. It was the entire point. In fact, the VCA puts it bluntly. Huskies love to run, may roam for miles, and may not come when called. On Reddit, experienced owners don't just caution owners about off-leash risks. They tell them flat out, don't be tempted, even by huskies that seem reliable. Plenty of owners have simply accepted that outside of a secured area, the leash is permanent. Sure, some individual dogs beat the odds, but banking on your husky being that dog is how people end up 3 miles from home shaking a treat bag at nothing. Number 4. Huskies run away because they don't love their owners. There's something uniquely painful about watching your dog bolt through an open gate and not looking back once. People feel it personally. He doesn't care. She wants to escape. After everything I've done for this dog. The emotional math feels obvious. A dog that loved you would stay. That's a very human way to read a very dog situation. Huskies that run aren't sending a message. There's no statement being made, no grievance being aired. What's actually happening is simpler. A smell caught their nose, something moved at the edge of their vision, a gate was open, and 10,000 years of go fired at once. Owners field this question constantly from people who can't reconcile a loving dog with one that disappears? The answer is always the same. Deeply bonded and still gone through an open gate like it just remembered a side quest. Those two things aren't in conflict. That's just the breed. Number 5. Huskies are stubborn because they're dumb. Watch a husky ignore a sit command for the 4th time and yeah, the thought crosses your mind. Maybe this dog just isn't that bright. He's staring at you, you're staring at him. Nothing is happening. Classic dumb dog behavior, right? Here's what's actually going on. Huskies aren't failing to process the command. They're evaluating it. The breed is independent and stubborn, and obedience training matters not just for control but as actual mental exercise because a bored husky is a checked-out husky. They learn well, but they bore fast. And that derpy reputation fools people constantly because the goofiness reads as vacancy when it's usually just indifference. Owners who've lived with the breed say the same thing 2 different ways: insanely intelligent and very, very stubborn. Like those are separate qualities, when really they're the same quality. Smart enough to know what you want, unimpressed enough not to do it. The problem was never intelligence. It's that your husky heard the command, weighed the options, and decided the cost-benefit wasn't there. Number 6. Huskies are just high-energy dogs. A long walk fixes everything. An hour walk? Maybe 2. Tire the dog out. Come home, everyone's happy. It's the standard advice for any high-energy breed, and it sounds completely reasonable. Until you're back from a 90-minute walk and your husky is staring at you like you just did a light warm-up together. The mismatch isn't about distance. It's about what people think high energy actually means. These are dogs built for all-day movement across frozen terrain, not as pets who need slightly more exercise than a lab. The VCA is specific about what adequate care actually looks like. Daily long walks or jogging games, a secured yard, and obedience training specifically for mental stimulation. Pull any one of those out and the gaps show up fast. Without enough of both physical and mental engagement, the VCA says they become overactive and destructive. A walk is a start, but a husky doesn't need more exercise. It needs an entire lifestyle built around the fact that it was never really meant to be a house pet in the first place. Number 7. Huskies are safe with cats and small animals if they're nice dogs. The husky has lived with the family cat for 2 years without incident. They share a couch. There are photos. The owner hasn't thought about it in months, which is exactly when prey drive becomes a problem. Prey drive isn't a personality trait. It's a separate system running underneath, and in huskies, it can be completely invisible until something small moves fast in the wrong direction. The VCA notes they're generally fine with household pets, but not reliably so with strange ones. In fact, on r/husky, owners describe huskies that coexist peacefully with the family cat but completely detonate over a backyard squirrel. Same dog, same morning. Experienced owners use baby gates and give cats their own escape route, not expecting the worst, just acknowledging that prey drive doesn't announce itself before it activates. Huskies are friendly, gentle, great with kids, and still capable of a response that has nothing to do with any of that. Number 8. Huskies are impossible in warm climates. This one gets treated like settled science. Snow dog equals cold climate. End of discussion. People in Florida or Texas see a husky and assume the owner is either uninformed or cruel, quietly taking themselves out of the running before doing any actual research. The reality is more complicated than the meme. Huskies can and do live in warm climates, but the double coat that insulates them in Arctic conditions also traps heat, which means the margin for error shrinks fast when temperatures climb. The VCA rates them very low for warm weather tolerance and flags that they overheat easily. The spruce pets agrees. They're not comfortable in heat and need creative indoor exercise when it's too warm to run. But what warm climate husky owners actually describe isn't impossibility. It's a management system. Early walks before the heat builds, shade, constant water, AC, and zero midday exertion. The dog doesn't toughen up against heat with exposure. That's not how the physiology works, and pushing it is how you end up with a serious medical situation. Impossible? No. Requires real commitment and a functioning AC unit? Absolutely. Number 9. Shave your husky in summer to keep them cool. It genuinely looks like the kind thing to do. The dog is panting. It's August. And there's what appears to be an entire sheep's worth of fur attached to your husky. Less coat, less heat. It feels obvious. But the double coat doesn't work that way. The dense undercoat insulates in both directions. Cold out in winter, heat out in summer. The top coat above it blocks UV and helps regulate surface temperature. Shave it off, and you haven't made the dog cooler. You've dismantled the system that was managing the heat while exposing skin that was never meant to see direct sun. What actually helps is pulling out the dead undercoat through brushing and de-shedding, which improves airflow without sacrificing the top coat's protective function. Everyone who's been through a coat blow, the twice-yearly shed that produces genuinely alarming amounts of fur, knows a good rake-out makes a real difference. Shade, water, AC, smart timing, and a solid de-shedding routine. That's the list. A naked husky in August isn't a cooler husky. It's just a more sunburned one. Hey, if you enjoyed this, you'll probably love this video here. And if you hit subscribe, I'll donate a meal to a rescue dog on your behalf.